1st, 2012. Would you poll the board, please, Kelly?
Commissioner Munn?
Here.
Commissioner Yates?
Here.
Commissioner Pauley?
Here.
Commissioner Edgar?
Here.
Commissioner Neely?
Here.
Commissioner Roth?
Here.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Chair Shaw?
Here. Thank you. All right, so this is at a point in the meeting where we have citizen comments for anything that's not on the agenda here this evening. Okay. Hearing, seeing none. Adoption of the agenda.
Move to adopt.
Mr. Neely has moved to adopt
Second.
and seconded. Okay. General business 4A, resolution number UR 12-03, modifying the bylaws of the Urban Renewal Commission. Eric Underwood, please.
Okay. This is I'm still booting up here, pardon me. But this is modifying the bylaws of the Urban Renewal Commission to accept the reduction of commission members, or the limit of commission members to 7 with the attrition schedule, as noted. The first and second reading of this ordinance was read at the City Commission. The second reading was read at the last City Commission and approved. So,
Okay.
do you need a?
Do you want to give us a little description of that? So,
We need a motion?
Yeah.
It was
Yes, you do.
Yes.
Yes, it needs to be approved into the bylaws.
Correct.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I don't think this was attached to the email that you sent out. When I went to the agenda, I looked for this. Was this document attached to the agenda?
Should have been.
To the
Resolution.
to the resolution? So I could have found it if I hadn't been an idiot when I was looking for it when my computer.
It was
the other day.
attached.
It was.
Even I found it, Phil. It's a miracle when I can find it. You can't.
I believe it's on your monitors, too.
Well, I know, but I can't read it here. So I wanted to read
That's
it.
what happens when you move tons of rock.
that's right. Okay, so are we going to discuss this, Eric, or do we have that opportunity, or are you just looking for a motion here, or what?
Well, you might want to explain.
Yeah, I think this is really more of a procedural thing for the whole commission to express their opinion on it, because the city commission has already adopted the resolution, but they're your bylaws. And so we're suggesting that this group amend its bylaws to fit the resolution that was already adopted. Make sense?
Total sense.
Yes.
I just wanted to read it.
So, would I say I want to make a motion?
No, just you make a motion. You
Okay.
don't want to.
I'll make a motion to amend
The bylaws.
the bylaws to include resolution number UR 12-03, modifying the bylaws for the Urban Renewal Commission. Is that correct?
Yeah, we just need a
I've seconded.
second. Okay, now we're going to the question.
Yeah, I do want to. I think, in all fairness, I think we on the city commission know what we talked about. It might be good for the public just to review what the major change is.
The major change is from taking the Urban Renewal Commission membership from 10 members to 7 members with 2 at-large members, 2 citizen-appointed at-large members. And then with the way the board currently stands, there would be an attrition schedule, so it would be the normal terms, once the normal terms expire. I think 2 of the citizen members would expire at the end of this fiscal year, and the other 2 of the 4 would expire next fiscal year. And so at that time, the commission would appoint 2 at-large commission members.
Okay, I see nobody on here except Mr. William Gifford. Well, I mean, none of the.
That means you're not a nobody.
Yeah.
That's not an insult.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, my name is William Gifford. I live in Oregon City. A few things. Number one is this, it seems to me as though there's 2 pieces of this piece one is the resolution that the commission has already approved, and this body is merely, not that it has a choice,
Yeah.
giving its
We're
okay.
blessing, we're blessing, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. So I understand that.
I work for Providence.
This resolution does not refer to the implementation, that is the attrition scheme, and I just want to make sure that that's a separate issue. I mean, the Urban Renewal Commission is not making the resolution; it's just approving what the City Commission did. The other, and when Mr. Underwood stated that at the end of not this calendar year, but the following calendar year,
Fiscal.
are they on fiscal year terms?
Their calendar.
I think they're calendar.
Yeah, he did say fiscal.
Yeah, he did say fiscal.
Sorry, I
I was too
apologize.
kind to say that. I was just
that's
going to
good.
let that slide.
That's a good catch.
But
I still can't get budget out of my head.
yeah, good. I want you to keep that in your head. At the end of the expiration of the final existing members of the Urban Renewal Commission, one will be appointed to a 4-year term, and the second one will be appointed to a 2-year term.
Yes, they will be staggered terms.
Just that wasn't mentioned, and I just thought that would be brought up. And the last comment that I wanted to make is under Article 2, Section 1, the membership, which is the nexus of this whole issue. It says that the two members shall be urban renewal commissioners shall be citizen representatives appointed by the city commission from the electors of the city on an at-large basis. And yet, it seemed to me as though when the whole issue was brought up, one of the reasons for doing that was not just to change the number of commissioners, but their qualifications, and the fact that there would be some desire to have appointed members that were qualified either in finance or in development or in architecture or something that would have some skill set.
I think that was discussed, but it was never put into.
Was there a reason why it wasn't put in there? Because it was too
think-
difficult to quantify?
I think that there wasn't a consensus to do it for one, and I think we felt at large would be a good pool.
So there's no real job requirements per se for this appointment.
No, but we'd be looking at the resumes. I mean, so.
It was kind of going to be, as we appointed our city commissioner, the same process would occur for the at-large is what my understanding was.
Okay, those are the only questions I had.
Thanks, sir. So, I want to make my comment here. I haven't really been for this, as most of you know, that I don't think that you can have enough business voices on this commission, so narrowing it down from 9 to 7, I think is probably kind of going the wrong way, especially when you're dealing with millions of dollars here. So I'm not really in favor of this going to 7 members. So,
You don't know.
huh?
You don't know.
Well, I will. You dang right. I'm getting the boot anyway. So,
Not yet.
Not yet. We're going to give you a big bouquet.
Okay, so we've got a motion and a second, and is there any other discussion? Hearing none, we shall poll the board, please.
Commissioner Pauly?
Yes.
Commissioner Munn?
Aye.
Commissioner Roth?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Neely?
Yes.
Commissioner Edgar?
Yes.
Commissioner Yates?
Yes.
Chair Shaw?
No. Thank you. We shall move to item 4B, adaptive reuse rehab grant applications for FY 2012-13. Eric Underwood, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As promised in our last meeting, I said that I would bring to you the applications for round 2 of our adaptive reuse rehab grant program. So we've received 3 applications, and so tonight I just wanted to kind of mention those to you and give you an idea of what we'll be reviewing in the coming weeks. First one is on 818 Main Street. The applicant is T5 Equities. They're proposing a mixed-use office retail. And they're looking at, with this development, they would have about 35 to 40 new employees in our downtown area. The restoration, they're going to restore the original flooring, exposure of the beams and the rafters that exist in the building, with the total project cost being roughly $115,000. They're requesting at $55,000 from the URC for that project. 818, I believe, there's a kind of a picture of where it is right now. There's no front to that building because they were approved for a facade grant, and they're currently working on that. And I believe it's the old Safeway. So this restoration will complete the restorations on this block. The second application, are there any questions?
Can we kind of go back and check this out again here? Any questions on this particular one? Now, is somebody monitoring this project? For instance, I'm just not going to pick on this one here, but these projects, when they say there's job creation of 35 to 40 new jobs, is somebody kind of monitoring that, or is there? How do we know that actually kind of happens, that they're new jobs and stuff?
Well, we certainly we talk with the client before they apply for the grant. Of course, they say they're going to employ that amount of jobs, and we'll follow the project. And we don't have a requirement for the jobs, or a way to assure that they're going to employ that many.
See, that kind of concerns me. This is $55,000 here. So I'm just wondering if we've got these things here, but anybody can come in here and say anything.
Well, I believe this is going to be their corporate headquarters, their national headquarters. Mr. Chair.
Wait, you're talking about a different building.
That's going to be another one. That's
818.
818.
We're going back to the previous one.
We're back at 818.
He went
Yeah,
back.
but 8. Okay. Oh, was the picture you just showed 818?
Yes, it was.
And what was that building before?
That's an expansion of.
That was something else. The cupcake shop?
The cupcake shop is
Yeah,
supposed to
they're
be taking
expanding. That's
the
what
half of the main floor.
You're getting
Okay.
confused with
and
the buildings.
half of the main floor, and then the other half is going to
Well, that's the retail
a
space. and
computer company or
the other
computer
half
up
It's a software company.
software
Yes.
entity.
Yes.
And that's.
And
I
that's
thought
the
what-
corporate headquarters. So it's a mixed use of retail and office. So the retail would be the cupcake, and then the office would be the 35 to 40.
Okay.
I
And
thought
the
that-
office doesn't exist right now.
It does not.
Okay.
Currently, it's retail. It's been retail.
Right, right. So this
Okay.
will establish a mixed use.
Good.
And the
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Paul. I'll defer to you.
okay, when we get office type employment down there, it changes the mix of the vitality. We've been trying to. We're swaying a little bit further away with office, away from retail on the main floors and the main areas of exposure. And the more we sway that way, not that coming from a software world and that world and owner of a business that rents, this, though, is it altogether consistent with what we want when we want the continuity of retail along the main drag? These numbers, these 55 jobs, I go along. I'm concerned about them and about the estimate and where they're really going to be coming from, and if we don't have some stipulations in any agreement that says that if after a year you haven't created those 55 jobs or something like that, maybe we need to be a little bit more creative about how we do this, because there's smoke and mirrors could be
This-
easily in front of us.
The job component is a bonus piece to the application. It's not part of the standard required criteria that was approved by this board. So that is that's a bonus points mechanism.
Commissioner Neely.
By-
Rocky's been,
I asked the original question, and then it got off to. Let me know when you guys are finished.
I did raise my hand, Rocky, sorry.
Well, my hand was up
No, I know.
Okay.
while you raised it.
All right, Rocky, go ahead.
No, I'll wait till you guys are all done.
Okay. I didn't see you on the speaker down here and stuff. So.
Oh, I wasn't
Well,
here. Anyway,
because we're not.
go ahead,
Okay.
Rocky.
Okay, my first. I still think we're talking about. You're telling me this building is being divided into two separate companies. One that's an expansion from next door, and a new one.
Right. The retail space is supposed to be up front. The office will be in the back.
Okay, so they're accessing the back through railroad, so if there's two frontages. Okay, what my follow-up question to that is, construction's already happening right now, not just on the facade, but in the interior. So how are we going to make a decision on granting money to a project that's already underway, and it basically tells me the project's going to happen regardless of whether they get the grant or not?
Well, that was addressed with the property owner, and we don't have criteria that states when they can start the project. So I said he could start that with his own. He could wait, or he could start under his own risk.
But it's really important not for us to spend money on something that he's going to do anyway. We should be funding things that won't happen without government assistance. And if he's already spending the money, why would we grant $55,000 to a guy who's already doing what we want him to do, which is develop downtown Oregon City?
Well, that's something that the committee does take into account when they're reviewing these applications.
Okay.
So tonight I'm just presenting what's been submitted.
Yeah, I was going to
One
say.
last thing is
So we're not reviewing the applications tonight. So it's just
It's informational.
it's just informational.
But at what point are we going to start reviewing them? Because we still haven't had the discussions that we need to have, and I'm afraid that we in both cases we've started giving grants before we actually figured out what the process was, and we're kind of making it up as we go along. And my concern here is we're having several members of this commission who have brought up that we need to have a discussion about amounts or how many grants can individual businesses or companies apply for. Mm-hmm. Most of these are ones that have already gotten storefront grants. So I mean, we've got companies that are getting storefront grants and interior grants, sometimes both, sometimes for multiple buildings. So I would like to have all those discussions before we even discuss giving out any more money.
Sure. So we talked about that in our last meeting, and I believe it was Commissioner Roth who came up with the concept of anyone who was approved for a grant, say 12 months prior, within 12 months is not eligible for the next round. So we're incorporating that into our criteria. However, these came in before that discussion happened. So these applications are grandfathered, so that will happen the next go around.
And is it looking at both grants, or is it saying
It's
you can
looking
apply
at.
for?
We discussed it under the context of the adaptive reuse rehab grant.
We didn't
it
talk
doesn't-
about
it
any
doesn't
other
do
We didn't
grants.
talk about
anything.
any other grants at that
No,
meeting. We didn't
no.
talk about storefront. We didn't talk about anything else but the adaptive reuse.
I guess the question is that something we need to discuss too? Because we've already given this building money for the facade, and which I think was a good project. Now we're considering in the future maybe giving them a grant for the interior, which they're already going to do anyway, and it's already under construction.
But it's
I
already
don't
been
know.
approved.
Only
The
the
storefront
storefront
grant.
has.
Yeah.
Only the storefront.
The adaptive reuse. And the other question about whether or not you're going to get to comment on these, I think our last discussion was I would bring the applications to you to let you know what applications were submitted. The committee would go back and review those applications, and we would come back. I would come back with a report
Right.
telling the commission how we reviewed them,
Right.
what we saw, and what we are recommending for approval. And then
Okay.
that's when you would have that other stab at these applications to ask those questions.
I guess I would like to see us work out the details before we market it to everyone on Main Street and people start making presentations and people start expecting grants. I mean, we're just making it up as we go along, which is, at least we're consistent because that's what we always do. But this sounds kind of messy.
All right, Commissioner Neely?
Did we not already approve the criteria?
Only.
I'm sorry?
Did we approve the criteria by which we make these selections?
Yes.
So we've done that.
Yes.
Now, we're not being presented here with decisions at this point. He is simply bringing forward the applications that have been made.
Right. And we haven't even had a chance to review them yet. These are
And so, I think that's what we requested. So this isn't the decision-making piece. We have approved the criteria, and so to say we should do it, we did it. But the point I really wanted to make when I first raised my hand out of order was this, that the fact that we'd like to retail on the bottom floor and office on the upper floor assumes we got more than one floor, and this is not the case. I would also point out that if it came to making a mixed-use decision on retail and office on a single-floor building, generally office wages are better than retail wages, and we do want to have, I think, better
Right.
wage jobs. So I don't think that piece is an issue. But in any case, it'll be coming before us, and I thought this was simply you coming forward with the projects that have where they've made applications.
That's all I'm doing tonight.
And so this is not a. They haven't. You haven't even rated them yet. Is that right?
We haven't even looked at them yet.
So all we're doing, and
I'm
we're
just
getting
getting
way
this
ahead of
information off the
ourselves,
front of the
and
application.
saying it almost sounds like we want to make a decision on this piece.
Yeah.
It's not the intent of this presentation.
Right.
So our discussion the last meeting was that staff would bring it before you. Okay, the applications are submitted. I take the names off the applications, the amount requested, and I let you know that. So that's all I know at this point, too.
Right.
Okay.
The committee will go back, review these applications in detail, make their decisions, whether to approve or not to approve, and how much, and then we'll bring that back to the board, letting you know how the process went, how the committee reviewed them, and which ones we're recommending for approval.
Okay.
And so that's the other bite at the apple that you have with these.
Mr. Frazier, did you have some comment a while back? Or
Well, just
then I'm going to go into
just
other-
this idea that a couple things. First of all, if job creation, which I don't think was part of your original criteria, but if you want to require and verify job descriptions, or I'm sorry, wage and job information, there are ways that you can do that, and there's ways the government can do that. We haven't talked about those right now because that wasn't part of the concept,
Okay.
but you can do that. There's ways of asking for tax information and verifying it a year later, and sometimes those grants are tied to wage and job retention, so that they get part of the grant now, part of it a year later, and like the remaining piece the second or third year out. I mean, it's much like cities do with COPS grants. After 3 years, you have to, it's all yours after that grant expires. So there are ways to do that. I just wanted you to be aware of that, and that wasn't part of this concept. Also, I do appreciate, though, the feedback and even the visceral reactions that we're getting, because I think this committee that Eric is reviewing it with is going to feel similarly when it comes to things that would have happened anyway or might have happened anyway. So those are all, and when you tell people up front, if you undertake construction and you seek reimbursement, it may be more difficult. It's certainly going to be more difficult to prove that it wouldn't have happened anyway. So that's...
I will point out that that was a main topic of discussion during the first round, and that's one of the reasons that one of the grant applications was not approved, because they were doing the project anyway.
Okay.
So we do have that in mind.
All right. We can. We've got a couple. We've got a audience member. Karen Morey has applied for.
Have we approved your application?
I don't think we've approved yours.
Actually, I want you to take...
And your name and address, please.
Hello, Karen Morey. I live outside the city of Oregon City, within the urban growth boundary. Just some reaction to some of the comments that have been made here. First thing to kind of take note of, the rehab that's going on at this building is actually something totally unique to Oregon City. We are going to have a single business with two landlords. They are two totally separate ownerships, and they're working together to provide an improved retail space. Secondly, lately, we've been very lucky that we have a small pool of people that are investing a lot of money on Main Street. They are buying significant properties that need major upgrades. I would really ask in the future that you look at these projects on the basis of the structure, not the ownership, because it's a very small handful of people that are spending a lot of money on Main Street and making some incredible improvements. And I hope you do not base grants on how many you've given them in the past, but look at the structure.
Well, that's not even a comment I've ever brought up. I know people on this board have brought that up as an issue to talk about. I'm just saying that, you know, if we already approved it, which I knew we had, then that's what it is. I don't know why we're gonna then continue to have conversations while it's in process. It makes us look like we're just kind of making up as we go, which is what we're really doing. So well, that's it.
Okay.
Well, and I have a slightly humorous aside to close my comments with. I went down to Bush's after they took the awning off and took some photographs. I put them up on the museum webpage or Facebook page. The most likes I have ever gotten on any
I put it up on mine, and it was the highest too. Yeah.
There you go.
It's incredible
Yeah.
how people feel
It's
about
incredible.
bringing
Yeah.
these buildings
No,
back.
I agree. Absolutely.
I
And the
totally
pride
agree.
involved in it.
Thank you, Karen. Okay, Commissioner Yates.
First of all, I want to say I appreciate the fact you're making these presentations to us. You've been really, really open about this program, and we've been really inconsistent about it. And I think I think as a body, we've not done a good job on this, and I blame myself too. When we talked about this, 3 or 4 or 5 months ago, and we decided not to review it by the commission and give you the authority to review it, I don't think we understood what we were doing. And I think the fact that we've been asking you to come here and give us this stuff in advance is to remedy a decision that we made that I think if we were to reconsider that decision, we may make it differently today. I'd like to revisit that decision. This is a little out of order maybe, because we talk about things at the end but next time. But I think this program, I have a problem with this program. I've expressed it before. But I really think that we have enough collective. We made the decision not to do anything about it because we didn't feel we had any expertise. I think the people around this committee feel like they do have some expertise on these issues in terms of internal, and I think we ought to change the process through which these things are administered and approved to have a final approval by us in a similar way that you bring other projects, the storefront grant thing. I think we made a mistake. The way we set this up. Yes. I think if we were to review these things in a more formal way, we would see where the regulations that we've adopted, without really focusing on them and thinking them through very well, aren't working, and we can make modifications for them, rather than lay it on him for not doing what we want him to do when we don't even know what we want him to do because we haven't really thought it through. And I don't think you really can do what you say, making it up as you go. I'm not sure you really can. I used to design these programs for a living. It's tough to design a program that works coming out of the box. You always design it as you go, and you evaluate it as you go. I think that many of the criteria we've discussed ought to be in these things, but he doesn't know what we think is important until we unload on him for coming up with a 40 job predictions on a building which couldn't be more than 3,000 square feet. There's not going to be 40 jobs in that building in the back half. So I don't want to blame you. I think it's our fault, but I'd like to revisit this whole program.
Okay. Commissioner Neely.
I would just say I think we ought to give our process a chance and go through it the way that we've set it up. One of the concerns I've always had, and I think many times we know the people that are applying, and I'm always afraid that either one direction or another, that might be entering our decision-making process. That's why I really supported the notion that we develop these criteria, and these criteria are checked out in the process. We still award the grants. I mean, that's not the question. The criteria are brought out, the scoring they did is put before us, and they make a recommendation. We can discuss our issues at that particular point, and we can approve or disapprove.
Well, he's not bringing
of
these
them.
for our approval, Doug. He's bringing this as a heads up.
Right.
No, I understand that, but I said when it comes forward. I
But
understand.
we don't approve it. The way we got it set up, we don't approve these. He approves them. This is just a heads up for us, and he's going to give us a heads up before he approves it. But I'm suggesting to you that this is not. We really want to
It was my
Okay,
approve.
but-
understanding in the last meeting that
But
at the
y-
back end of this project, we would recommend approval for certain.
Yes.
We would bring it back to you, and we would have recommendations
That's
for
right.
approval.
That's my understanding.
Refinalize it.
And
And we do. He's going to recommend that we make the final decision.
Well, then we're not following what we said we were going to do when we started the program, which is to give him the authority to do it.
That's correct.
Which is different than just giving us a heads up, seems to me.
So all the review would still lie upon staff to review,
Yes.
and then we would report that review to the commission. And then it was decided also to let staff do it for this year, and at the end of the year, report the tweaks and kind of an update, how we've done, what we've learned, and kind of updates, and see where we go from there for
Okay.
the next year.
I'd like this process to continue on for these applications. See how it works out.
Yeah. Let's see how it goes. Now, keep in mind, we've got a little time frame here, and you've got an executive meeting at 6:30. Commissioner Edgar, please.
I will briefly just say that I agree with Phil. I think that right now we've agreed the way this rehab reuse application process, you have final approval. I really think we're not doing due diligence passing that to you. I don't think we really understood when we voted on this rehab reuse program. I think that it should have approval back by the commission.
Which in effect it does, I guess. Now. I don't think that the process is very pretty.
Okay. Commissioner Mum?
Well, I think a lot of comments have been made that I was going to make. I do agree that it needs to be relooked at by us, but I do know that we gave Eric full for the rest of this year, and that next year we were going to look at it, correct? 2013. That was my understanding.
We would revisit it in a year, yes.
Yes, and then we can make all the changes. So
Okay.
start writing them down. Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Want to keep going?
I got two more.
Okay.
Yep, let's go.
722 Main Street. Ben Billups, Billups Worldwide is the applicant. Their proposed mixed use of office and retail, which is an art gallery on the bottom floor, street level. The job creation component, this is another headquarters job that would employ 12 family wage jobs. Original interior material will be milled and reused as finishing material for this project. Total project cost $1.1 million. Amount requested $150,000. And that's the building that's right across from the courthouse there, 722 Main.
That's going to be nice.
Will
Yes.
be a very prominent location. Third and final applicant is 800 Main Street. This is part of the Bush building. The applicant is Bush and Bush Development. It's a proposed mixed use of restaurant and grocery use, boutique grocery style use. The project will expose the original 117-year-old brick and ceilings, refinish of the original fir flooring. Total project cost $189,000, and the amount requested is $65,000. And it would be in that corner there. So,
Thank you for doing this, Eric.
All right.
sure.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? Otherwise, we'll move to the city manager's report, please.
Just want to remind the commission I'll be on vacation beginning tomorrow through August 13th. Tony Kunkel will be the acting city manager, so if you have questions as a commission, Eric or Tony, either one can help you.
Lucky Tony.
And I think Eric has one other thing.
All right.
We have an upcoming commission meeting regarding employment lands or opportunities in the north end of downtown. Just wanted to give you a quick update on that. I've been working with, or been leveraging some of the county's resources to do mapping as part of that. And we actually today we were out on ground level taking on the street inventory of these properties that are on the map and confirming them. And we have several that we've identified downtown, and it's exciting to see. And so we're making some real good headway there. So it'll be a good meeting coming up.
Okay, very good. Anything else for this evening? And we have future agenda items.
I had sent everybody an email. I actually was forwarding it to Betty Munn, from Betty Munn, that she sent to David Frazier and I. It was an original memo that came from Jody Carson, who is the commissioner at Westland, but she is also the vice president of Metro Policy Advisory Committee. We've actually seen a draft of it, but MPAC is coming with a report on effective use of brownfields, what has worked historically. They've done a series of studies. A draft has been presented, and a final report is going to be coming to us. And I think it's something that we will all want to look at when it comes forward. So I wanted to make sure everybody had a chance to see it. I just emailed it shortly before we came to this meeting.
Thank you for doing that, Doug.
Yeah.
Very good. Any future agenda items? Hearing none. Adjourn.